Hello, and welcome to another Rang Rouge unit of the week. And today we're taking a look at the 17-pounder anti-tank gun. So in 1940-1941, with the introduction of the 6-pounder anti-tank gun, the British Army was looking into the future and realising that German armour was just going to have more armour in the future, so we might as well have an anti-tank gun now that can deal with that armour for when it arises. And that would potentially lead into the introduction of the 17-pounder anti-tank gun, which would end into service in 1943. The first 17-pounders were sent over to North Africa to deal with the emerging threat of the Tiger tanks, which were seen there. These first 17-pounders weren't actually mounted on the traditional 17-pounder carriage that we would see, but instead were mounted on 25-pounder carriages, and these few anti-tank guns were called pheasant-mounted 17-pounders. From there, you'd pretty much see service in the Italy campaign as well through the Normandy campaign, with the majority of Commonwealth forces being attached to the majority of Commonwealth divisions and army groups. It was arguably one of the most effective anti-tank guns in terms of pound-to-pound firepower, as it was one of the few Western Allied anti-tank guns which could actually penetrate Tiger tanks and Panther tanks at a reasonable distance. And because of this, the Commonwealth forces would opt to mount this anti-tank gun into a lot of tanks and tank destroyers, and even modifying them to fit them into Cromwell tanks, known as the Comet tank. So in game, the 17-pounder is a 70-point anti-tank gun available to the 15th Scotch, the 6th Airborne, the 3rd Canadian, and the 1st Polish Armoured Divisions. It is one big gun. And who would have been surprised, the 17-pounder is equipped with a 17-pounder. We have 50 armor penetration shells, and long story short, it's a pretty damn powerful anti-tank gun. 170mm penetration, 50% accuracy, 8 rounds a minute. That's pretty damn good. You can knock out the vast majority of tanks that you're going to come across, as the 17-pounder does not discriminate. If we pop down to the miscellaneous stats, it has 7 strength, good optics, medium stealth, and heavy cargo space. So in battle, the 17-pounder is a big bloody anti-tank gun used for blowing up big bloody tanks, and it's pretty damn good at it. Panthers and Tigers will go down fairly fast to this anti-tank gun. The only real thing it will give you issues are the King Tigers and soon-to-be Ferdinands in the game, but it's really only an issue if you're playing 4v4s and 10v10s. And you're gonna have more issues other than that if you're playing 4v4s or 10v10s. But in more traditional matches, the 17-pounder is very damn useful. Sometimes it can be considered a little bit overkill, especially in 1v1s, as usually the 6-pounder can deal with the vast majority of medium tanks on a cheaper budget, and also having a higher rate of fire, which is arguably nicer, but it's always a good idea to have at least a few 17-pounders in your deck. And with the decks or divisions that it can be brought with, you get a lot of them. Not so much card-wise, it has a pretty standard availability of 2 in A, 4 in B, and 6 in C phase, but the availability per card can be anywhere from 3 to 5 of them, which is, well, that's a lot of 17-pounders you can get. You can pretty much just fill up your entire anti-tank divisions, and some divisions with only 17-pounders. Yeah, I wouldn't really advise that. Arguably, its one weakness is that it doesn't have high explosive shells, but frankly, I would consider it a bit of a boon, as really with heavy anti-tank guns like this, you're going to want to turn off the high explosive shells anyway, because you don't want to give away your position blowing up a small Ursat troop and squad, rather than waiting for a Tiger to come around and blowing his top off. Quite literally. So overall, the 17-pounder is a big bloody anti-tank gun used for blowing up big bloody tanks. And in the current state of SD2, big anti-tank guns are in a pretty good position, as reconnaissance doesn't really do much to spot anti-tank guns. So if you have your 17-pounder in a forest, it probably won't be spotted until you shoot it. And as long as you don't shoot it, you won't be spotted. Pretty simple math, right? Yeah. I'd highly recommend taking them, as there's always, especially in larger team games, big bloody tanks which you're gonna have to blow up. And you can't really go too much worse in a 17-pounder. And well, I'm going to leave it off at that. This has been another Rang Rouge unit of the week. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and as usual, please just take it easy.